Canucks needed overtime to take a bite out of the Sharks. A classic it was not, but it is a home ice victory, and we're breaking it down. A 2-1 win on Rink Wide Vancouver. Welcome inside the Rink Wide Vancouver studios on the night that saw the Vancouver Canucks defeat the San Jose Sharks 2-1 to complete the season sweep. 4 one-goal victories over the guys from the Bay Area who are not very good. And this was not a very good hockey game, but somehow Irf and I, mostly Irf, is going to make this thing sound like it was a game that you couldn't afford to miss. Felt like a game that would never end with timeouts in overtime and goaltending equipment problem, icing. This was two teams that are playing out the string, but the Vancouver Canucks do come out with a 2-1 victory. Jake DeBrusk, his team-leading 28th goal of the year, and Quinn Hughes picks up an assist to give him 409 career points, matching Alex Edler. It was only a matter of time, and with one game still to go, the captain has a chance to become the Vancouver Canucks all-time leader among defensemen in scoring. We'll see if he can do it on Wednesday when the curtain comes down on this 2024-25 season at home against the Vegas Golden Knights. Rinkwide is brought to you in part by Bet365. We want to hear from you. Help us have some fun here on the program. We're not going to spend a ton of time getting into detail on this game itself, but there are certainly enough Canucks issues to help us along the way here. But if you've got things that you'd like us to talk about, topics, by all means, hit us up with the Super Chat, our charity partner this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. If you calmed down over there, you were a little worked up as overtime sort of felt like it was never going to end.
You know what the best part about this game was?
It's over.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's enough said.
I'm
right
stealing
there.
your line there.
There we go. OVAH.
Yeah.
The only thing in overtime was missing was a goaltender interference challenge. You've seen crazier things have happened. But look, I think on a night where you look at this game in its totality, I'm sure we'll talk about it a lot. It's Nikita Tolapilo. It's Quinn Hughes and the insane record in how many fewer games. We'll get into that. But also, you know, they get a win, right? And it's two bad teams, or one team that's really, really bad in the Vancouver Canucks on a Monday night. And, you know, fans, if they stayed to the bitter end, they got their money's worth.
Yeah, this was a slow build, let me tell you. I was there for the first couple of periods, nothing doing in the first. Canucks outshoot the Sharks 12-3. They had a couple of power plays, moved it around, in fact, generated a ton of shots. And for the second straight show, we've had the microphone.
Who was here before me?
Well, it happened to PJ on Saturday, and apparently the repairmen, they don't work weekends. So
I'll fix it.
We'll let Irf do a little handiwork there, and we'll tell you that no scoring in the first period. Macklin Celebrini with a big-time goal scorer's goal on the power play to open the scoring in the hockey game. 25 for the North Vancouver native, and 25. He's an 18-year-old. He doesn't turn 19 until June, and this guy just getting revved up in his NHL career. And a great goal, and good for him. And he looked for the longest time like that might be the only goal of the hockey game. In fact, midway through the third, I was guilty of looking up how many times the Canucks had been shut out this season, and maybe in doing that, I jinxed Alexander Georgiev, who was very good in this game. Goaltending's been an issue for the Sharks. They've had a whole bunch of them. In fact, they used 4 different starters in the 4 games against the Vancouver Canucks this season. You won't see that in the season series very often. But Linus Karlsson going hard to the net. And Georgiev didn't make many mistakes, but he did on the Karlsson goal as Teddy Bluger's shot rolls to the San Jose net. And Georgiev looked like he had options and kind of just played it right out into the slot. And there was Karlsson to bang home the rebound, 9:03 of the third period. So that tied it at 1. And as you know, it went to overtime. So there was no more scoring in regulation. And then Jake DeBrusk on the 8th shot on goal for the Vancouver Canucks in the extra session. His 28th, his team leading 28th. He extends his team lead. And we have said this so many times. 81 games this season. We've done them all. Jake DeBrusk is streaky. He's scored in 4 straight games again.
Yeah.
It's wild how this guy gets on a heater and look out, but then, finish off strong. Go 5 in a row on Wednesday night, get one more. But it kind of feels like unless Brock goes off in what could be his final game as a Vancouver Canuck, Jake DeBrusk will lead this hockey team in goals this season.
And that's kind of what you signed up for. Like, you have to be happy if you're management and you're Canucks fan when you look at it. Guy gets paid a lot of money. He was brought here to score goals. You mentioned the streaky goal scoring, and now he, leads the team in goals. And that number, could he get to 30? Pops in another couple at home, and you mentioned the streaky score there. So it'll be interesting to watch over the next little bit here with Jake DeBrusk. But another good news story for this team, I guess you could say, to end the season, if we're looking for moral victories and things like that,
I'm all about the moral victories. Why not? There haven't been enough real victories for the Vancouver Canucks. 38 of them now, 38, 29, and 14, if my math is correct, and I think it is. And that gives them 90 points. And again, I think this is one of the great frustrations this season with the infighting, the injuries, the inconsistency. They got 90 points. Like, they're within shouting distance of the playoffs. And the overtime record is a huge part of it. That's been well documented. They're now 10 and 14 in games that have gone beyond 24 times. They have gone beyond regulation. I had somebody in the chat asking what the league record is. I believe it's 30. The Boston Bruins went to overtime on 30 occasions. So even though they've been 24 this year, nowhere close to the most overtime games in a season. But 90 points for the Vancouver Canucks, and at home, the record now 17, 15, and 8. So regardless of what happens on Wednesday against Vegas, they'll finish with more victories than outright losses. But when you tack on the 8 OTL or shootout losses, in the end, it's more losses than wins for the Vancouver Canucks in front of the paying customers. So, add it all up to the disappointing season. We know that, but how do you look at 90 points? Like, disappointing, but when you think of just how stupid this season has been on so many levels, doesn't that just kind of add to the frustration that they're not a 75 or an 80-point team? Like, they should have been right there. Could have been right there, their own worst enemies, and we know the reasons for the way the season has gone here, but, they're going to be kicking themselves to be that close and ultimately finish on the outside looking in.
They're going to be kicking themselves based on the home ice record alone.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
And I think they should. Your home ice is supposed to be your fortress. Home ice is supposed to be a place where you have dominance, where you're good, where you have every advantage over the other team. And the Canucks have given the advantage to every team on most nights at Rogers Arena. That's something that needs to be addressed immediately heading into next season, whether it's starting better or what have you. But if their home ice record was a little bit better, I'm not saying a lot, maybe a couple more wins, they'd be a playoff team. And just like that, because that's how good they've been on the road, right? So it's the home ice record's the big one. You mentioned the 90 points. Yeah, good to get there. But it just goes to show you that if they were that much better at home, this team would be a playoff team.
Yeah, and trust me, I'm not saluting them for getting to 90 points. I'm just saying through all of the dysfunction this season, they're still they're going to miss by 5. And I think that's maybe 6. Who knows? We'll see how it all plays out here. The Canucks have 1 to go. They've got Vegas in here. Vegas playing in Calgary, and the Flames still playing for their playoff lives. And so it'll be the 3rd straight opponent here to finish up that has played in Calgary the night before coming into Vancouver. And look, the Sharks are a bad team. We know that. They came to town with 20 wins. They leave with 20 wins. They get a single point. That doesn't matter. They're dead last in the NHL, and they have lost 10 straight hockey games. So a challenging year for Macklin Celebrini in his first look at the life of the National Hockey League. But again, credit to him for playing hard every single night. And he was the only guy that scored for the San Jose Sharks tonight. Let's get to the 3 stars. We'll get the 3 stars in here at this point. 3 stars are brought to you by Greta Bar YVR. The 3 stars is selected in the building by the broadcast team. Quinn Hughes gets the nod, the assist that gets him a share of the record. So a little bit of a reputation call, if you will, for Quinn Hughes. I'm not going to argue with Quinn Hughes being the first star. He is a lot of nights and, again, played a ridiculous amount. Coaches can't help themselves. Macklin Celebrini is the 2nd star. Nikita Tolapilo was the 3rd star in the building. Here on Rinkwide, our 3 stars, Linus Karlsson.
Yep.
Going hard to the net. This guy's battling, and Rick Tocchet's talked about all these eyeballs and, players playing for something. Linus Karlsson is certainly playing for something, and that something's a job in the NHL. What did Ray Ferraro call him? The 10th best forward?
It could be the 10th best forward on the team next year.
And I think he meant that as a compliment.
Yep.
But, it sort of tells you where Karlsson falls and we're probably he's 25. Like he's got the contract for next year.
But you know what? That's not a bad spot for him. That's probably where he is meant to be, right?
But go to the net, find the loose pucks. We've talked about his penchant for getting to the net and screening and taking goalies' eyes away. Look, on the last couple of call-ups, like I was not a guy that believed in Linus Karlsson. Watched him play a couple of playoff games last year. Not a whole lot happened for him. I will say his last couple of call-ups, he has looked the part of a depth NHLer. So good on him. I mean, any goal at this stage for him, just one more thing to sort of put on the resume and leave this management group and coach, if in fact the coaching staff is back, to remember him by. So, we're going Linus Karlsson, star number 1, Macklin Celebrini. There you go, the goal in 3 shots. Noticed him a bunch. His goal came on the power play. And Nikita Tolapilo getting his first National Hockey League start. Yeah, it's against the Sharks. A little different Shark team than Mikey DiPietro got thrown against back when he was forced into an emergency start. Not nearly the firepower on this San Jose bunch, but Nikita Tolapilo gives up 1 goal. It's the power play goal to Celebrini, and I think that shot would have beaten a lot of goaltenders, whether they have 1 game or 100 or 200 games. That was, again, primetime shot off the right side, up under the bar. Otherwise, Tolapilo made some stops, and there were chances. In fact, moments before Teddy Bluger had that breakaway in the third, I can't recall who had the chance, but point-blank opportunity, and Tolapilo makes a save there, and then the Canucks took the puck in transition, went the other way. So Nikita Tolapilo has a victory in the National Hockey League. Cool story. I always love guys getting an opportunity, even if it's a late-season call-up. And, for the 2 of them, Tolapilo and Kudryavtsev, the rookie lap before the game together, just those moments that they're never going to forget. And so for Nikita Tolapilo, good on him. He wasn't busy, stopped 15 of the 16 shots that he faced, but his job is to stop whatever pucks come his way. And, for the most part, did that tonight. So we salute Nikita Tolapilo, and we include him in our 3 stars. Linus Karlsson, Macklin Celebrini, and Nikita Tolapilo are the 3 stars here on Rinkwide. They're brought to you by Greta Bar. All the big screens, not a bad seat in the house, arcade games. You can order off the terrific new street food menu. They've got weekly drink specials as well. And Greta has been a terrific partner and a great host for our Canucks Army watch parties throughout the season. So we thank them for that. Greta Bar, the place to be. 50 West Cordova, Greta Bar. Let the games begin.
I think that going to next season, if things go sideways with the 2 starting goaltenders, I think it'll be Nikita Tolapilo. That is the 3rd guy. Just based on the way that they've developed him. They didn't rush him up. Shilov's had the playoff experience and all of that, and that's why he was here. But the development of Nikita Tolapilo down in Abbotsford, the way that he's been playing, the way that he's been working on his game, obviously earns the call-up, and it's great for him. But some in that organization view him as that guy.
Well, I'm really interested
in those 2.
I'm interested to see how goalies are deployed in Abbotsford in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Here. And Artur Silovs obviously has a stronger resume at the NHL level, but I'm not convinced that Tolapilo's not going to have the net down there, or maybe Silovs gets the start. But if it doesn't go so well for him in the hockey club, they've got 2 guys that obviously they can trust and have platooned throughout the season. But it'll be interesting if Abbotsford does get on any kind of playoff run. Who is the guy that's getting the nod more often than not? And Nikita Tolapilo, I would imagine, will stay up here. We heard that Thatcher Demko is not going to play on Wednesday, so Abbotsford Canucks are out on the road to finish up with 3 down in California. And I think Tolapilo will be the backup, and Kevin Lankinen will get the start in the season finale and fan appreciation night and team awards and all that kind of stuff. And so give Lankinen that sort of one last opportunity. He's earned it with his performance all season long, but this night, a night that Nikita Tolapilo will never forget. What about Kudryavtsev? Got called up. They got the 3 youngsters out there, DPD, Victor Mancini, and now Kudryavtsev. To my eye, in the building, watching him a little bit, I was glad that they played him. Like, he got 13 and a half minutes of ice time in a 1-goal game that, again, a 1-goal game. It was tied into the, to overtime. But even though Quinn ate up a ton of ice time, they backed off some others so that the kids got an opportunity. I didn't notice him one way or the other. But that's not a bad thing, right? Like a young defenseman making his debut in the National Hockey League can skate well. He's mobile. Like, obviously, we've heard that about him down in Abbotsford. He's had a strong season there with 26 points, a 7th rounder in the 2022 draft. First of his draft class out of the 7th round. And I looked it up earlier today. In the last 5 drafts, last five NHL drafts, only 8 7th rounders have played a game. So It's a rarity. And it just shows you how far this guy has traveled. And again, good for him. I would assume he'll get another opportunity on Wednesday, since they're shutting down just about everybody, including Tyler Myers now. And we know the injury issue to Derek Forbort. So, get the nerves out of the way, whatever the case. He was fine. I thought he was fine, and I'd like to have another look at him on Wednesday.
Led the team in block shots. That's always a positive stat. A shot on goal, missed shot, and a giveaway to go with 13:33 of ice time. Yeah, look, I think he's going to turn himself into an NHL defenseman, whether that's here in Vancouver or it ends up being somewhere else down the road. I think he's definitely going to be serviceable to some teams. You kind of just wish that some of these games meant more when these players got called up. Like, just looking around the league, you're seeing guys like Demidov playing in for a playoff chase. You're seeing Hudson going in Edmonton, and they're going to be right in the mix. So it'd be nice to see, that happen here in Vancouver with some of these young prospects. Obviously, problem for a lot later down the road, but good for him. Earned the call up, as did Tolapilo, and went out and showed that they can hang. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? When Mikey DiPietro started against the San Jose Sharks all those years ago, couldn't really hang. Definitely, when Josh Tevis played his one NHL game, couldn't hang at all, and it was. I just like making the Josh Tevis references. But there are situations where guys that go in, and it's deer in headlights. So credit to this goes to Manny Malhotra and his staff for getting these guys ready to make that jump and be able to go in so seamlessly here. It's basically the same system down there is what they're trying to do,
right? And I see some people in the chat and on my timeline, this is the future of the Canucks defense. I'm not ready to go there just yet. And obviously the one big piece is Tom Willander, and his name came up an awful lot during this hockey game. And we can talk about that. But I think you have to look at it as you can never stockpile too many NHL quality defensemen. Is the room for all of them on this NHL roster? I don't know. But if this team is going to address needs elsewhere, if you've got trade chips, and I'm not saying one game at the NHL level out of Kirill Kudryavtsev is enough for teams to line up and start ringing the phones of the Vancouver Canucks, but you got Sawyer Mineo in the system as well. Like, they can't all play, and they're all sort of in that same age group, but that's not a bad thing. It just means that as the Canucks continue to develop down in Abbotsford, they're developing players either for the Vancouver Canucks or to use as bargaining chips in a trade somewhere along the line. So let's see where it goes with Kudryavtsev. But again, for a 7th round pick, making the National Hockey League, good on him. And it's just interesting to look at some of the ice time. We talked about them backing off guys. Obviously, Quinn Hughes didn't get backed off. 30 minutes and 34 seconds, played 3 minutes and 23 seconds of the 4 minutes and 42 of overtime. They called a timeout to rest him. In fact, he benefited because San Jose called the timeout for some reason in overtime as well. So Quinn Hughes up over 30 minutes. Philip Hronek at 25:56. Now, the Canucks had 5 power plays in the hockey game, so certainly that factored into it. But a guy like Marcus Pettersson, just 18 minutes and 23 seconds. Again, the Canucks didn't have to kill a lot of penalties, so they didn't have to lean on their penalty killers in this game, and that allowed a player like Marcus Pettersson to ease into things a little bit. DPD, his night, 15 and a half minutes, took that high stick to the face, and was a little worried in the moment. He looked to be in some real distress, but was able to get to the bench, and no worse for wear there. Interesting night for Victor Mancini. You laugh.
Very.
You know where I'm going.
Yep.
I mean, the natural hat trick. Penalties. Canucks only took 3 minor penalties in this game, and Victor was guilty of all 3 of them. High sticking in the first period, interference in the second, and then to top it off, a slash in the second period as well. So he was in the box when Celebrini scored. The jury is still out, and this comes back to this comment about the future of the Vancouver Canucks defense is on display. Victor Mancini's got some work to do.
Yeah. It's funny. I mentioned to someone during the game, I laughed and I said, well, might be time to go to the American League, and spend some quality time there. And they said, no, we love him. And I think it's one of those things where it's a project, definitely. Definitely some work to do. He's going to have to work with Adam Foote and that coaching staff to try and figure out his game a little bit, but maybe he's going to go down there and play some meaningful games in the playoffs, or at least sit and watch, right? But for him, you're right, Jeff. Like, those are things you can't do at the NHL level. Put your team down. You're the only guy that takes penalties on a game like that. Yeah.
And we've seen, it's just not tonight.
It's bits and pieces, yeah.
These are the Sharks, and they're not playing for anything, and you're taking 3 penalties. The one of them was the interference on Toffoli when he dumped him into the net. But we've seen other instances. The game in Dallas not that long ago that the Canucks roared back and won. Sam Steele just beat him cleanly to the outside. And so he's got to work on body positioning, defending, moving with, defending with your skates so that you're not in a position where you have to hook and hold and chop guys. A project rather. Raw materials, it's there and big, obviously, and he skates reasonably well. But there's still some growth. I think it's safe to say that the jury is still out there. Again, I'm not writing him off. And the Canucks have given him a pretty decent run here, and he will play in the American Hockey League playoffs, but he needs some developing. There's no question about that. He's still got runway, though, at the age of 22. So tough night for him. Look, as we sort of break down all aspects of this hockey game, he can't overlook or sweep that under the rug. They take 3 penalties, and he took them all. So.
It's funny when you mention big and skates relatively well. Big and kind of skates is what kind of the Vancouver Canucks MO is for defensemen. They definitely like the big guys. Yeah. They like the guys that can skate. And then beyond that, they think that they can fix the hands, and they think that they can work on the player to hone their skill that way and the mind of the game. And that's what they did to Tyler Myers in his resurgence of his career a little bit. They thought they could do that with Vinny Desharnais. Obviously, it didn't work. Derek Forbort hurt the injuries, but then ended up playing into himself as a huge role on this team. Right? DPD, obviously another guy that maybe a lot more skilled than some of those guys, but definitely a bigger guy that can move. So that's definitely the way that they want to build out their defense. And, Victor Mancini, like you just mentioned, obviously needs some work, but I'm no doubt in my mind that the work is going to be put in with this coaching staff.
I was hoping we were going to see Vinny Desharnais on the other side, of course, traded from the Canucks to Pittsburgh and then on to San Jose. Has been out for a couple of weeks, and now with 1 game to go, it's unlikely that he is going to play again this season. The Sharks are sort of in the same boat. Like, they played in Calgary last night, lost 2 more players, so they had to airlift a couple of guys in from their AHL farm club. There were a lot of players in this game tonight that have touched AHL ice this season. I think the Canucks had 7 of them in the lineup, and with the 2 call-ups, with Tolapilo and Kudrayatsev, 16 different guys have played in both Vancouver and Abbotsford this season. So, we talk about development.
It's great.
It is great.
Also,
I think from a management, if you, at the outset of the season, if you asked the Canucks management, or you told them they were going to have 16 different guys up from Abbotsford, I'm not sure that they would want that many in a perfect world, but when you run into the injury problems that they have down the stretch here, and you've been out of the playoffs and you have this opportunity, look, it's allowed them to use the farm system in that way. But again, it's been a weird year, but Abbotsford has certainly been one of the good news stories for this Vancouver Canucks organization. So let's see where it goes with 3 games left in their regular season, and then on to the playoffs. And we know that there will be playoff hockey out in the Valley. All right, let's get to the stat that stands out. Yes. 81 games into this thing, we've somehow, after each and every one, dug down to come up with a stat that stands out. It's brought to you by Resurrection Spirits. The Canucks scored 11 goals in the 4 games against San Jose this season. And you recall they scored 10 in 1 game against the Sharks early last season. So 4 1-goal wins against the San Jose Sharks. If they squeaked into the playoffs, you'd say, hey, all wins are good wins, and it doesn't matter if you win 10-1 or 2-1 like they did tonight. But in that collection of 38 victories on the season, 4 of them have come against the Sharks, and all 4 1-goal wins. The last 2 needed overtime. Drew O'Connor on the penalty shot, and here it's Jake DeBrusk late in OT from Hughes and Boeser to win it for the Canucks. But that's a stat that stands out. You're not going to get double digits. You don't see double digits very often anymore in the National Hockey League. Remember though the Canucks hung 10 on them, and then Pittsburgh did the following game. Like, that's how bad the Sharks were at the start of last season. I haven't got a whole lot better. They're going to get another very high pick. Certainly have the best odds to land the first overall pick for a second straight year. So we'll see how things shake down with the draft lottery. And, of course, the Vancouver Canucks, well, they can't win the draft lottery in terms of moving to the very top, but they'll have a remote chance of moving up 10 spots. We'll see how things play out. But, yeah, that's a stat that stands out to me. After a 10-1 win last year, they get 11 goals in the 4 games against the Sharks this season.
Quinn Hughes had 5 points that night, the 10-1. Brock Boeser, 2 goals and an assist. JT Miller, 3 points. Pedersen, 3 points. Anthony Beauvillier, 2. Andrei Kuzmenko, 2.
I think those were Beauvillier's first 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It took him a while to get
Mikheyev
going.
scored.
Oh.
Pia Suter scored.
Days.
Everyone scored with 10 goals, but
exactly.
Yes.
That was the night Dakota Joshua was a healthy scratch, too. Tocchet
early in the season, this message sent.
Messages. The stat that stands out brought to you by Resurrection Spirits, and we've been telling you for a couple of shows now about Bogey Juice. It's crafted with a tantalizing blend of crisp apple flavoring and kickin' ginger for that refreshing zing. Every shot of Bogey Juice is like a hole-in-one for your taste buds, sweetened to perfection with simple syrup, made even smoother with top-shelf vodka. It's the only juice that's guaranteed to make your golf buddies beam with envy despite the score that it refers to. You can check out bogeyjuice.com for more info and use promo code SP15 for 15% off Bogey Juice product and merchandise. All right, the Vancouver Canucks defeat the San Jose Sharks by a score of 2-1 in overtime, 81 down. And 1 still to come. And yeah, of course, we're going to be back here with our final episode of Rinkwide on Wednesday. And in fact, it may be an extended sort of look back at the season. We'll break down the game. We'll do our usual stuff, but hopefully you'll join us then. When I look at this game, the Canucks outshoot the Sharks 37-16, 37 shots on goal, 17 attempts were blocked, 33 shots missed the target.
And that's been a problem with this team for so many times. You and I sit here.
Yep.
Rick Tocchet talks about it. Look at this. We have 76 attempts. Only 12 hit the net. Like, it's crazy.
It is. The shot attempts in this hockey game, 87-37 in all situations. So one-sided. And that's why, Tolapilo was our third star, but certainly an honorable mention to Alexander Georgiev. He's the last Shark goalie to post a victory. As we said, it's 10 straight losses now. There have been a couple of OTLs in there, including the wild one in Minnesota last week. But bottom line is they haven't won for a while. Their last win was against the Leafs on March 27th, I think it was. But, if Georgiev could provide them that kind of goaltending on a regular basis, they might find a way to generate enough offense some nights to get the victories. But it didn't happen for them here. Canucks outplayed them, certainly outshot them badly. And ultimately, on their final shot of the night, 37th and final shot, it was Jake DeBrusk doing what he's done all year, and that is scoring the ugly goals. This guy has not filled up the highlight reels, but he has filled the net. 28 goals, as we said, from Hughes and Boeser. And yes, for Quinn Hughes, 409 career points. And also, we should mention, his 60th assist of the season. So, not a surprise. I mean, this guy just generates points in his sleep. We know that. But nice round number for Quinn Hughes to get to the 60 assist mark once again in his National Hockey League career. But on this night, it's 409, and that sets the table for him to get the point that he needs on Wednesday night. And I've been saying it for a while. I hope it happens here on this homestand. I hope it's not something that we have to carry through the summer. And, it would obviously be one of the storylines into opening night and shortly thereafter. But this is a guy that has risen to the occasion. And even if there aren't stakes in the game on Wednesday night, you still sort of feel like Quinn Hughes is going to deliver as he has just about every night that he suited up for the Vancouver Canucks in his career. But I do think that would be a great moment to share with the home fans. So I hope it happens on Wednesday.
Yeah, Adler took 925 games to get 409. Hughes did it in 432. That's 493 fewer. Like that is insanity to me. The record is crazy, 409 points. Obviously, Canucks haven't had a lot of defensemen that score a lot of points until now. But to do it in almost 500 fewer games than Alex Edler did says something about Quinn Hughes. I mean, he is this team. He's the heartbeat of the team. He's the offense, obviously, has been this season and most seasons. And yeah, it literally, the guy's everything for the team. Goes to get the puck. People are thought they're going to use, I think you mentioned, split the puck 3 ways. But I think that Tolapilo is going to get that one for sure. It's going to go on his mantle somewhere. But yeah, I mean, Quinn Hughes, it's ridiculous. There aren't enough words to describe what he means to this team and organization. When he speaks, people tend to listen. We talked to Ian McIntyre a little while ago about the head coach. That made some headlines here. Mm-hmm. Talked about, the handling of other players' injuries, had things to say. Talked about Elias Pettersson when he wasn't playing so well. And, he's definitely someone that I didn't think it would take. I thought it would take a little bit longer for him to grow into the leadership role that he has. And I'm so happy that I'm wrong with that. And the way that he is operating now, full on captain, like one of their better captains right now.
Yeah. And I'm already looking forward to player exit media availabilities to hear from Quinn Hughes. And you're right. I mean, he sort of bared his soul to Ian McIntyre in the piece last week at Sportsnet, but this will be another opportunity for him to answer some questions about the season that was, the direction of the organization, what he wants to see, what he needs to see. Obviously, we are now entering that window, even though he's not eligible to sign an extension. I wouldn't be surprised if there are questions along those lines, just about his thoughts as he sits here a year away from being extension eligible. So, when I look at them cleaning out their lockers, and we're led to believe that players are going to meet with the media on Good Friday, which may not be ideal for everybody, but hey, for some, they'll have the day off, and instead of sitting in the cubicle at work, maybe they can tune in and check out what the players have to say. Quinn, just because of his role and his presence as the captain, obviously Elias Pettersson, haven't heard from him for a while. Thatcher Demko,
Brock,
Philip Hedl. I'm really curious we haven't had a chance to talk to Philip Hedl, and he's been back on the ice for the last couple of days. Like, that was a massive surprise to me on Sunday as I showed up at the rink. I was expecting a Derek Forward update. Didn't like the one that I got, unfortunately, but I walked into the building on a Sunday afternoon, Masters Sunday. I wish they had put the Masters on the Jumbotron, but couldn't get the
players wouldn't practice.
Couldn't find the remote. And there's a guy in a red jersey, and I at first thought it was Nils Åman, and I thought, oh, okay, Nils Åman. And I looked again, left-handed shot, and I was like, that's Philip Hedl. Like, I was not expecting that. And of course, he's not going to play here, but for a guy with his history of head injuries, I just think this is a massive positive development that he feels good enough to at least be out on skates. I thought he ramped things up a little bit today. It was an optional skate, so nobody was going particularly hard, but I thought his skates were packed up and his hockey gear was put away for the season. So on that front, at the very least, I'm happy for Philip Hedl. I don't know where this is going to lead in the big picture, but it feels like a positive development, and we haven't had a chance to talk to him since the Jason Dickinson hit. So he's another guy that I'm kind of curious to hear from when the players meet the media on, again, we think it's going to be on Friday.
Yeah, and look, like you mentioned, Brock, obviously, saw how emotional he got, was it last season or the one before, about everything that he's kind of gone through. I expect it to be kind of the same here for Brock Boeser. Elias Pettersson, it's always fascinating to hear what's going to come out of his mouth when he's asked a question. Quinn Hughes, I think that the questions to the players that are going to be about the head coach are going to be interesting, unless they already have an answer for the head coach, and that'll be completely done by the time that players do end up speaking to the media. And then, just Thatcher Demko. Like, I think that those are the interesting ones for me. Just the big guys, the core of this team, and really, like, what's gone on and what are you going to do this summer as an individual and collectively as a team to get better? Like, is it going to go back to as easy it was as Quinn Hughes captain skates, where he had everyone come in 2 weeks early because this is something that they needed to do? It might have to be, yep. Right? And you're going to get some new guys. There's no doubt about that. You're going to lose players. There's going to be turnover. There's going to be different players on this roster. So, obviously all fascinating topics that, hopefully we'll get covered.
And we should mention as well, we're led to believe that coach and management, and I don't know if that's just Patrick Alvin or if Jim Rutherford's going to be part of this one, but it sounds like that's going to take place on Saturday of the long weekend. So, that feels a little bit calculated on the organization's part to, as the playoffs are getting underway around the National Hockey League, it's the Saturday of a long weekend. The forecast looks like it's nice. Does that sort of deflect some of the attention, I suppose, off, again, what's bound to include some pointed questions for the management group about the downfalls of this hockey club this season and ultimately the direction moving forward here. A master troll in the chat says, is Jeff going to be in attendance for the Hronek exit interview? Yeah, I'll be there. I don't know that I've got questions for Philip Hronek this season, at least not the ones that I had last year, but last year was last year. I think we have both moved on, but apparently Master Troll has not. So
people don't forget, Jeff.
No, that's fine. Like, again, I just didn't
joke.
I didn't think that he gave it the best effort to answer questions. He didn't look terribly interested in being there. And we know that this is a guy that doesn't enjoy that part of the job, and that's fine. But we had let him be all season long. So I just kind of felt like there were some questions there that I had hoped to get answered, but didn't really get great answers. Doesn't matter. That was last year. And Philip Hronek's been a whole lot better. We've talked about him, and certainly the games when Quinn has been out of the lineup. The one thing I'd like to see is him shoot the puck a little bit more. And when they were working on the power play today, they went quite often with the two defensemen set, and so often Quinn would have the puck on the flank, draw defenders to him, get it to Philip Hronek, who looked like he was in a great shooting position. And I don't know, it felt like there was a reluctance for him to unleash the big shot. He ends up with 2 shots on 5 attempts on the night. Pius Suter, 6 shots, 12 attempts for Pius Suter. He had that close call in overtime where he basically stick-handled the puck right into the crease, and Georgiev was able to make a stop there. But Pius Suter had 6 shots on goal, Quinn Hughes with 5, and Jake DeBrusk with 3, and of course was able to score on one of them.
What you mentioned, the 2 defensemen set there on the power play, and you want Hronek to shoot. It's too much of watching Quinn, and I say that in kind of respectfully to Quinn, because we all sit and watch and marvel at how good he is.
Yep.
But I think the one element that changes that power play is Elias Pettersson healthy, right? Just because of how dangerous he can be with and when he has his shot. Otherwise, it really just is Quinn Hughes trying to find traffic in front, trying to find angles, trying to find this, that, and the other. But Elias Pettersson gets hot. Elias Pettersson gets back to whatever he can be. That completely changes the dynamic of how that power play looks.
The National Hockey League has helped me out here because I didn't have the stat a moment ago, but I do now. According to the National Hockey League, Quinn Hughes becomes the 4th defenseman in NHL history with at least 4 consecutive 60-assist seasons. I love these statistics. He joins Bobby Orr, Ray Bourque, and Paul Coffey. That's the list. 4 guys have had 4 consecutive 60-assist seasons as defensemen.
Well, Cale Makar's the best defenseman in the NHL.
Well, Cale Makar's going to win the North this year. And I hope for the next decade that these guys battle and go back and forth. And there's going to be others, and they're starting to pave the way. And Lane Hudson in Montreal is probably going to work his way into this discussion before too long with the season that he's having. But right now, again, like, just stop and think about that. Bobby Orr, Ray Bourque, and Paul Coffey. Bobby Orr did it 6 times. Bourque and Coffey did it 5 each, and Quinn's at 4 right now with a chance to match those other guys next season. So every time you see those kinds of statistics, you just kind of, like, we all know it, we watch it, we marvel at it, and then you see that kind of stuff and the company that he keeps, and, this guy is skating on a direct path to the Hockey Hall of Fame. He's still early in his career, but if he stays on this trajectory, there is no doubt in my mind that we are watching a Hall of Famer in progress. So good stuff to Quinn Hughes, and we certainly salute him for the 60 assists and for matching Alex Edler at 409 points. This segment of Rink Wide Vancouver, a presentation of the Pacific Toyota dealers, and they want to tell you about the Toyota's BZ4X, 100% electric. It's backed by peace of mind, knowing that it's a Toyota and that spark of joy that you get when you pass a gas station and you don't have to stop. We tell you all the time about all the storage capacity, whether you've put the hockey gear or the ski gear away. Maybe you're moving on to golf clubs or baseball equipment, big bags, bat bags. Tons of room there. It's got all the storage capacity that you would want in an SUV, and it can handle any terrain. So it can take you from the city up into the mountain bike trails as well. When you choose the BZ4X, you can get up to $6,500 in rebates and incentives. And right now, you can finance a 2025 BZ4X from 0.99% APR for 36 months. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. All right, he didn't play for the Vancouver Canucks. He hasn't played for the Vancouver Canucks. He was drafted by the Vancouver Canucks a couple of years ago. Will he or won't he? And, of course, we're talking about Tom Willander. And there were conflicting reports as this game unfolded. There was a report that, yes, some sort of agreement had been reached, and then that was refuted. And I think that's where things stand for the night at the very least, is that Tom Willander is back in school in Boston after playing for the national championship on Saturday. The Canucks have one game to go. This guy's on the East Coast, and their game's here on the West Coast coming up on Wednesday. And so it seems highly unlikely at this stage that Tom Willander is going to get into the final game of the season to burn that first year of his entry-level contract. And that part's fine. That may never have been the plan for the Vancouver Canucks in all of this. I don't think people should be fretting here. Abbotsford's out on the road for 3. Then they're probably going to have a week off before the AHL playoffs. Like, there's still time for Tom Willander, if he chooses to sign with the Vancouver Canucks and come in here and play in Abbotsford, if that is in fact the plan and agreed upon by both sides. But there is some suggestion too that maybe Tom Willander doesn't want to go to Abbotsford at this stage and wants to stay in school for the remainder of this year. And even then, like, yeah, I think people hear these reports, Irf, and they think, this guy's, he doesn't want to come to Vancouver. Canucks are going to lose him. They have his rights for 2 more years. A year from now, if he's not signed, absolutely red flags. But right here, right now, I think some of this is posturing. This is still negotiation. And I'm not sure what you've heard tonight, if there have been other developments other than the ones that were reported. But the bottom line is, it doesn't sound like Tom Willander is going to play for the Vancouver Canucks with 1 game to go.
Well, let me just start with this. I think you and I talked about it. Was it January? I said I didn't think he was going to sign, or maybe February. I didn't know that there was a chance that Tom Willander was going to sign here in Vancouver. I think that when you looked at this team defensively, where was he going to play? And I don't really believe that he wants to go and play in Abbotsford right now. And that's totally his choice. That's his prerogative. That's exactly what he wants to do. He's going to turn pro. He is probably going to sign a contract with the Vancouver Canucks here at some point, and he's going to end up playing for this team and compete for a roster spot next season. Don't think he's going to fly here and play in 1 game. I really don't think that is, and I don't think he's going to play in Abbotsford either. I really don't. I think that he's going to take the summer. He's going to work. He's going to come into camp, and he's going to prove that he needs a roster spot on, or is earning a roster spot on this NHL team. And if he is as good as he thinks he is, if he's as good as all the fan base thinks he is, then that shouldn't be a problem. And from the Canucks standpoint, it's a little weird. I think it's not for their lack of trying to get him signed. I really don't believe that in any case. So we'll see where it goes. I know, Frank Cervalio reporting, Thomas Drance reporting different things, and that's kind of where it stands right now. Not really too close on a contract. And we'll see what happens. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to turn pro here at some point. He's not going to sit out another year. Like, he's probably going to turn pro next season and try and play and try and make the team.
Yeah, and I mean, just look at his teammates. Boston University's been a pro hockey factory. I mean, so many guys have come out of that program after 2 years. I'm sure he's ready. There's no question about that. And so we know that school is important to him and his family. And if it is as simple as he just wanted to return to classes and finish this school year, then so be it. As I said, if it gets to this point next year and he hasn't signed a contract, then for sure there are issues at play, and the Canucks then would have to look at, what are their chances? What's the plan at that point? But we're not there yet. So let's see this thing play out. It's unfortunate just for a season that has gone sideways and the Canucks eliminated from the playoffs. We see all these other teams injecting players at this late stage, and it would have added a nice layer and a little bit of excitement and, a glimpse into the future. But again, it takes 2 sides to come to terms and hammer out a deal. And so Tom Willander at this point remains unsigned, but still property of the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, and I also think today, no disrespect to Tolapilo or Kuznetsov at all. They earned their call-ups to this team. I will say that completely. But you look at a team like, the Edmonton Oilers. Hudson's making his Quinn Hudson's making his NHL debut. The Edmonton Oilers are going to go to the playoffs. Ivan Demidov scored in his NHL debut. Obviously, a way higher draft pick, and lots of hype around him. But teams that are getting their future already into the lineup, but the present is still playing good, is where the Canucks need to be. Like, they need to strive for that as an organization. They need to have the guys that are in the lineup now being, okay, we're 2 points out of the playoffs. We're going to get our guy, and he's going to come push us over the top. Or he's going to give us a chance to get into the postseason or help us when we're in. Ryan Leonard with the Washington Capitals, like a guy that's going to go in and make an impact in the playoffs. Canucks have some pretty good prospects, but the current team, as it is right now, if that's not getting you there, then that's where the problem starts.
Yeah, so we'll continue to follow the story, and if there are developments in the days ahead, obviously we'll see where it leads. But for right now, Tom Willander remains in Boston, and the Vancouver Canucks at home to the Vegas Golden Knights on Wednesday. Hey, we just talked about Quinn Hughes and 60 assists. We should mention, and look, I get it, it's a low bar, but we track this thing on a daily, nightly basis. Brock Boeser got the assist on the game winner. We have a 50-point forward on the Vancouver Canucks this season. And a month ago, there was questions.
Yeah.
Would this team that struggled to generate offense coming out of the Christmas break and really up to the Four Nations and even out of the Four Nations break with, the first bunch of games, remember that 5-game road trip and first 2 games, they lost about 2-1, I think, or 3-1 and 2-1, whatever. Goals were hard to come by. It was a legitimate question. And then Elias Pettersson gets shut down. But Brock Boeser is a 50-point forward. So Quinn Hughes leads the hockey club with 76 points. Quinn now with a 16-point lead. Check that, a 26-point lead on Brock Boeser, who is at 50 points. Connor Garland's sitting at 49. So we'll see where they finish out. Max up on Wednesday night when Vegas is here. But yes, just wanted to point that out at the very least that Brock Boeser did reach the 50-point mark. All games are complete around the National Hockey League. The playoff picture, however, is still not in focus on either side. Montreal Canadiens facing the lowly Chicago Blackhawks. You talked about Demidov and the boost, a goal and an assist in the first period. Bell Center was rocking, but Chicago Blackhawks come all the way back and they win it in a shootout there. So the Habs still have some work to do with 1 game to go. Columbus is still alive. Columbus is the only other team in the East that has a chance. So Montreal's in the driver's seat, but they could have barged through the front door and punched their ticket on home ice. Would have been a great scene, but didn't happen for them. Detroit beat Dallas, or if the bottom has fallen out on the Dallas Stars, and I think the Vancouver Canucks are to blame after that crazy comeback. That was the 3rd straight loss, but they have lost 3 more since then. They lost 6 straight games at the wrong time of the season. Today, they lose 6-4 to the Detroit Red Wings, so they're giving up all kinds. Canucks hung 6 on them. They're giving up all sorts of goals, and not the best of times for the Dallas Stars, who are on a collision course with Colorado in the first round of the playoffs. Rangers beat Florida 5-3. Utah downs Nashville by a score of 7-3. Utah will finish up the season in St. Louis, and that is a massive game for the Blues.
Yeah.
And it was interesting that Utah has played Karl Vejmelka for like 100 straight games. They finally gave him a night off. It's back-to-back for the Utah Hockey Club, but they're saving their number 1 guy for Game 82, a game the St. Louis Blues have to have. So we'll see what Utah's got left in the tank, but it seems strategic that they're saving their number 1 goaltender for take his best shot at the St. Louis Blues, maybe play spoilers there. Los Angeles Kings, I think, trying to send a message here to an undermanned Edmonton Oilers team without most of its stars. Of course, they're going to play in the playoffs for a 4th straight year. Kings go into Edmonton and win 5-0.
And the Kings have home ice now.
Yes.
And that team doesn't lose a lot at crypto.com. And they're a nasty team to play against, too. People think the Edmonton Oilers, they're tough to play against this and the other. Nah, the LA Kings are going to be a tough out for that Oilers team. And the Oilers are going to go into that series just limping, too.
Yeah, we'll see if the league has anything to say. Darnell Nurse with a cross-check on Quentin Byfield. Kings are 31-5-4, 5 regulation losses on home ice all season long. And so we'll see if home ice matters come playoff time in the 4th straight playoff matchup between the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings, and then the Canucks and the Sharks were the other game in the National Hockey League tonight. So, the Canucks game in the grand scheme doesn't mean anything, but Utah with its win, that game is an hour ahead of the Canucks. So for the moment, Utah had moved past the Canucks in the standings, and then the Canucks, with the overtime win, get back in front of Utah. And really all they're doing is jockeying for, mid-teen player draft positioning at this stage. But the Vancouver Canucks, finished the night with 90 points. So they're one ahead of Utah and two back of the Calgary Flames. Flames are in action against Vegas tomorrow. Minnesota at home to Anaheim. St. Louis taking on Utah. So we'll see if maybe the playoff picture comes into focus. It could all be settled, or it could go right down to the wire. So 3 big games in the West coming up on tap Tuesday night. All right. I was hoping that we were going to get a little post-game. Just kind of curious to hear from Rick Tocchet and always get his thoughts on...
You're going to hear from Nikita Tolapilo, I think.
He was one of the guys.
He's one of the guys that just spoke.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. Anyways.
He's ready.
Oh, all right. Well, sure. Let's hear from Nikita Tolapilo, the big Belarusian making his NHL debut, 15 saves for the 2-1 win over the San Jose Sharks.
And that's a good feeling. Just enjoy the moment, and pretty simple.
What were the nerves like today leading up to the game, and what were some of the things you were thinking about?
To be honest, I wasn't too nervous. Play hockey for a while, do it every day, and a little bit before the game. But once I step on ice, I feel good, and just focus on the next shot, and just focus and do my job.
What's it like to make the debut with Rink as well?
Oh yeah, that's pretty special too. We're a roommate in Abby, so kind of split the rocky up with him. So that's good. I'm happy for him. Really happy.
What about the way you rebounded after they got their first goal, but you came back really strong? How important was that? Was it something in your game you had to gather?
Goals, that's happened sometimes. But as I said, I try to focus on next shot, and help the team, win the game. So kind of simple.
About 10 minutes left, and it was a tie game, and Toffoli picks up a loose puck in the slot. Can you take us through that play? It was a pretty big save to keep it tied.
That was shot. I said, probably a good save, but I try to do my job and keep the team in the game and give them a chance. So that's most important for me.
All right, there you go. A little sample of Nikita Tolapilo. After the win, the Vancouver Canucks down the San Jose Sharks by a score of 2-1. Just before we kind of wrap things up here and look ahead to what we expect from Wednesday night in Game 82, it is time for our Bet365 line of the night. So what have you got your eye on the out-of-town scoreboard?
Well, breaking news, Jeff, coming in from Bet365. There's still hockey to be played before the playoffs. With every nail-biting overtime win, it's a barn burner. Face-off, hat-trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, every suspenseful minute in between. It's amazing. Whatever the moment, never ordinary. Bet365, official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app. Use code NATION to get in on the game. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. 3-game parlay. You know me. I do like, what are we doing here? Oh, yeah, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Columbus and Philly are the two teams that I probably bet on the most this season. Columbus doesn't lose day games on the weekend. They're 3-0. This isn't a day game on the weekend, but I still like the Blue Jackets. The Calgary Flames over the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Ducks. Wow. I don't know. I like the Ducks over the Minnesota Wild. So I really do.
You're betting on chaos then.
Yeah,
if,
absolute
Calgary
chaos.
wins and Minnesota loses, and Columbus is in must-win mode. I think they can't afford a single drop point, or Montreal can't get a single point in its remaining game against Carolina. So Columbus is really down to its final life, but they are still alive mathematically. So it truly is a must-win. We throw that around a lot, but now we are in must-win mode for these teams. Some of them playing game 82, like Minnesota on Tuesday night. All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that. We'll check in after the results of those ones. Off day for the Vancouver Canucks, as expected. There is no point in practicing the day before the final game of the regular season. They've come all this distance. There is nothing left to work on when you're eliminated from the playoffs and you've got one game to go. So Rick Tocchet makes the right call. full day off for the Vancouver Canucks on Tuesday.
Yeah, probably the right call.
Of course, it's the right call.
Yeah, look, everyone's got to book travel plans and things like that. They got to
What
get
are
a
you gonna
home.
do, bring them in and grind them on the penalty kill?
They need a maintenance day. You know, it's got to be taking care of the family. Figure out when you're going to Cabo or Cancun or wherever the hell it is. But no, I'm joking. Again, like I said, hey, maybe it's a an off day for Rick Tocchet. Maybe they'll bring him into the Canuck offices.
I'll get a little work down.
Maybe a little work done there. Who knows?
Yeah. No, I mean those reports. Elliot Friedman said this thing's not going to drag on.
I don't think Rick's leaving to go back to. I think Vegas is where he lives.
Yeah,
I don't think he's leaving without a contract.
it was funny after practice yesterday, and the Masters was going on, and Rick Tocchet came out and was looking for updates on the Masters, and then it got around to the subject of golf and some of the golf courses that he has had the good chance and good fortune of playing, and he listed off a pretty impressive list when Tocchet played Pebble, all the time they spent in Pittsburgh. He's played Oakmont, one of the great golf courses on the U.S. Open, Rotation, Pine Valley. So he's had an opportunity to get around and play some pretty good golf courses. So he was quick with us because he wanted to get back and watch the conclusion of the Masters, as so many of us did yesterday, and got the reward from just incredible entertainment.
I'm playing UBC.
I don't know if he's played UBC. We'll have to ask him if he's had a chance to play much local golf. Whatever the case, off day for the Canucks on Tuesday, and then back at it. Probably an optional on Wednesday, and then it's game 82. End of the line for the Vancouver Canucks. It's fan appreciation night. It's team awards night. Quinn will be the top defenseman. Beyond that, the votes are. It's fan voting here, and so that makes it difficult to predict. Because the most to me, Quinn Hughes is the most exciting player, but I won't be shocked if a guy
Kevin Lankin wins it,
or
Kiefer
Sherwood, or Connor Garland with all his hustle. That's what, when you get a fan vote, I mean, it becomes a popularity contest essentially. So there's been a lot of debate about unsung hero, and there's lots of candidates there as well. But Quinn Hughes will be the top scorer. He'll be the top defenseman, and he'll be the MVP without a doubt.
Yeah, so he definitely has to play on Wednesday.
Yeah, and I mean, look, if there was a night,
he set the record for sure.
If there was a night that he probably should have sat out, it was it. But they don't have enough defensemen. Like, they only have the 6 healthy defensemen, and 3 of them are call-ups from the minors. So yes, Quinn played a lot. And again, we mentioned it earlier: 30 minutes and 34 seconds. So by my count, I believe that is the 6th time already this season that he has been up over the 30-minute mark, and 3 times in the last 10 or 12 games. So the guy has been a workhorse for the Vancouver Canucks. So we all know that. We've seen that, and part of that is that he drives the offense and he gets the assist on the winner goal. Canucks beat the San Jose Sharks by a score of 2-1. Look, as the Canucks season winds down, Vancouver Canadians are just getting going, and in fact, we're on the eve of the home opener for the Seas. Ballpark. I saw a time lapse of Nat Bailey. Completely overhauled the turf and the field in the offseason. Got it ready. It looks great. Always looks great. So yes, the season is underway, but the home opener is tomorrow, Tuesday, April the 15th. And what better way to open the season than with fireworks? So they'll do that after the game. Seas are at home all week. It includes a Good Friday nooner at the Nat. You can get your weekend started early. The first pitch there at 1:05, and then the weekends with a White Spot Family Fun Sunday. Easter Sunday afternoon game, and the kids can run the bases afterwards. So if you want tickets, check out CanadiansBaseball.com. All right, Vegas is in. Vegas is in Calgary tomorrow, and then here. They've locked up the Pacific, 3rd in the overall standings. They've won 2 straight. They're 7-2-1 of their last 10. That includes a 3-2 victory over the Canucks here just over a week ago. 3-0 against the Canucks on the season. Canucks have struggled to score. They've only scored 4 goals in those 3 games. Jack Eichel having an incredible season that I don't think a lot of people are talking about in hockey circles, and some of that's because there are higher scorers, obviously, and other teams that are doing terrific things. But Eichel's got 93 points.
Yeah,
he's got a 26-point lead on Mark Stone in team scoring there. Pavel Dorofeyev leads the team with 33 goals. Thomas Hertl has 31. This is, again, this is Vegas does what Vegas does. 6th in the league offensively, 3rd defensively, 2nd best power play in the National Hockey League. And they are likely to get Minnesota in round one, but that's not confirmed because Winnipeg's locked up top spot and everything. They got the President's Trophy. They'll be the 1 seed, and they'll play the second wild card, and that'll leave Vegas as the Pacific champ to take on wild card number 1. And so Minnesota's got the inside track, but Minnesota has to take care of Anaheim to make all of that happen. So we'll see what Tuesday brings, and then you and I will be back to do this one more time.
One last ride.
One more time. Yeah, it's incredible. It feels like it wasn't that long ago. We were in Penticton for training camp and into the preseason, and before you know it, here they are down to 1 game. So the final game for the Vancouver Canucks in this 2024-25 season comes your way on Wednesday. Irf and I will be back with that episode of Rink Wide, and as we said, probably a little reflection and maybe an extended version of the program. So hopefully you'll make plans to join us for that one. But that's going to do it for this night. There is nothing left to be said about a 2-1 overtime victory over the San Jose Sharks. The Canucks with their 38th win and 90th point in the standings as they take down the Sharks by a score of 2-1 on Jake DeBrusk's overtime winner with 18 seconds left in the extra session. Atu was working hard down at Rogers Arena. Atsu Nickel working behind the scenes here. And it's his final show of the season. And he's been a terrific addition to the staff here. So we've liked working with him and appreciate his help. So Atsu, nice job. Take a bow. For Irf, I'm Jeff. Thanks so much for hanging with us here on this episode of Rink Wide Vancouver.